let's go ahead and get into this and let's get the content started. So let me bring this guy in and see what he's about. Actually, I didn't even confirm their gender. Strider, Aragorn. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Now let me cut you down just a little bit. All right, so I can confirm that I was not misgendering you. You are indeed a male. If
Yes.
you identify as female, I don't care. You're presenting pretty fucking mask. So, hey, what's up? Who are you? I didn't really dig into who you were. I just figured, fuck it, it'll be fun.
Okay, yes. Well, I'm a political commentator. I'm very politically active. And, I've been to the Middle East. I'm originally from Ethiopia, and I live in America. And I've debated Ethiopia originally. Ethiopia is it's a country in Africa next to Egypt that was never colonized.
Oh, yeah.
In Africa.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. So, I wanted to get I debated Dylan about Ukraine, and I tried to debate with him with Bashar al-Assad, the war that he was so rah about until the next war happened, and he just completely forgot about those people. Just like the State Department, it's just like, oh.
Yeah. So, okay. So you did debate Dylan Burns on Ukraine. I'm sorry. I misrepresented you in the opening statement, but I misinterpreted, I would say. And then he wouldn't debate you on Assad because that was no longer, where the content was at. I get it. I get content brains sometimes too, but I like to have interesting conversations. So I was really
not only
intrigued.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I don't know that I've ever met anybody that is unabashedly pro Assad, other than sure, on Twitter or something, but you can't really take that as an example of anything other than literally any opinion on the planet. You'll find someone with it. But having legitimately talked with anybody about that, and I kind of don't get it. I'm curious where you would go with that, and of course also if this is something you like to talk about and debate about and stuff like that. I would
So I wrote a little bit
conversation into recent developments in Ukraine. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I wrote a little bit, actually, a speech of write a little bit of speech why I support Bashar al-Assad. So the reason I support Bashar al-Assad and the Shia Crescent, which altogether Iran, Hashid al-Shabi, Syria, and Hezbollah, is because they are resistance in the region, against against the United States empire and Israel. So to take the Syrian war, you can't take it in a vacuum. You have to take in all the history of modern day Middle East, since Sykes-Picot and the birth of Israel, and since not even Bashar al-Assad, since his father were resisting against American imperialism and Israel. And this is the resistance today, because there are no more heroes. There are no more heroes in the Middle East. Actually, I don't even think there are any more heroes in the big world anymore. That's a sad thing. Heroes like Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, et cetera, and et cetera. The heroes are. I can't name them all on top of my head, but those people.
I would say, I think heroes get made by history. I don't think they actually are quite the heroes that we make them out at the time, right? Martin Luther King couldn't stop cheating on his wife,
Oh my God.
Mahatma Gandhi, got a blood transfusion after letting, his not do one for religious reasons, and slept with his cousin, younger prepubescent cousins naked in bed to test his resolve. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times we, once people do great things, we then turn them into heroes later. And they undeniably did great things, And so I don't know. There's certainly a heroic kind of ideal for certain that many of these people represent. But I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. I just thought it was funny that the two you mentioned are people that happen to also kind of be pieces of shit in their personal lives.
No, look, cheating on your wife, I don't think that takes away from your heroism. Mahatma Gandhi, yeah, that kind of stuff. I really don't know about it, but yeah, like I have to look onto it. But yeah, but Martin Luther King, yeah, on my book, yeah, hero like through and through, because cheating on your wife, that yeah, maybe that yeah, like I'm not saying, being heroic is not being a saint. We're talking about politically heroic. We're not the Catholic Church. I'm not trying to put you into sainthood. No sins at all. I'm just saying heroic. So, but even in that sense, though, there's no more heroes nowadays, because we either killed them all or we corrupted them all by capitalism. So this is the resistance. So there is no what you call heroes. There's only the resistance, and there's the empire. And if you're on the resistance, if you support the Palestinian cause and etc., one of their last refuge is the Syrian government. So that is why they attacked Syria to overthrow it. It's not because he's a dictator, because the funny thing is that all the countries that attacked him were dictators too, like that our allies, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Emirates. All those countries were also dictatorships. So dictatorships, gathering together and saying, "Oh, this guy's a dictator, and we have to overthrow him to put in democracy." There is it's hilarious. So that is the reason why I support Bashar al-Assad.
So, there seem to be so many contradictions in what you're saying that is difficult for me to parse out. So I'm just going to ask questions, I think, for a little bit to maybe better understand your position. So
yeah,
it appears that you're saying that Bashar al-Assad is the lesser of two evils in a situation. And so
no, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying that. No, I'm not. Forget. Number one, don't use the word simping. And support is not simping. Like, what do you call it? No, I'm saying, look, there's in the.
Hold on, pause. You said you were an Assad simp in the DMs. All right.
No, I said I was a Assad supporter. No, I didn't use those words. I said I used Assad supporter.
Let me check, because if I'm misquoting you, I want to be 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, why would I use simp, man? It's like that's kind of stuff you use for girls. Like, I'm simping for you, like, Well,
I don't know you, to be fair.
No, okay.
Where the fuck did you say it? Russia, and why I support Bashar al-Assad. Yes, you said support.
Yeah, support.
I thought you said simp.
Support.
That was just a memory issue. I apologize.
Yeah. Yeah, and sorry, man. Like, I didn't know you're going to put me on, on camera today. That's why I didn't. What do you call it? I'm just using my phone. I didn't have my, ready.
I'm not demanding that you use a camera, man. If you don't feel comfortable with a camera,
no, it's all good. It's all good. But I'm on it. So
let's pick this apart a little bit. So you're saying you support Bashar al-Assad because he is fighting in some way against the West. Against Israel, as
a colonial power, yeah.
So first of all, I guess I have to say, well, what's wrong with Israel? Like, what is your feeling?
It's a colonialist empire. What do you call it? It's most of those people that came from Eastern Europe or Western Europe, and they're not. So they're a European colonial empire in the Middle East. These are not the natives of the Middle East. They say because they're Jewish heritage that they're supposed to live in the Middle East, but that's not true. So, for example, Israel is in Eurocup. Most of its friends are in Europe and the USA. That's where they feel welcome with. But they're in the Middle East because of Zionism. And they don't get along with anybody else. They see everybody else in the region like dogs, and beneath them, like a colonial empire see. That's what the colonial empire see. They see the natives as dogs to be to be submissive or to be killed. So you either submit or you be killed by me. So that's what they see him as, and they see themselves as a Western power. So that's why they're not from the Middle East. These are not Middle Easterners. These are Western colonialists, even though they are Western. No, 1 minute. Like, let me. Even though they are. What do you mean?
Can you answer the question though? Like, all you're saying is they're colonialists, the colonial empire, right? Which, I mean, we can pick that apart, and that's fine. We can kind of go back and forth on that, right? But you're not actually which is a trigger word that's kind of like, like it's an insult. Like if you're left wing, If you're right wing, not particularly. You say that they, as if like they believe that the Middle Eastern or Palestinian. I mean, Palestinian is kind of a new phrase, kind of created for people living in that region later. But I'm not actually hearing a why. Like what is your problem with, like, what's wrong with Westerners living in a region? Assuming that that's to be true, I don't think you.
Yeah, well, look, as a colonial power, like what's like the same thing that is wrong with apartheid South Africa, the same thing that was wrong with apartheid Zimbabwe, the same thing that was wrong with the colonialist Congo, the same thing that was wrong with all the colonialist empires in Africa. I mean,
you're not giving a why. You're saying it's like these things. First of all, I don't think they're like those things. Second,
they are definitely like those things.
It's interesting that you bring up like South Africa as like an apartheid state, right? When South Africa is really interesting because I mean, it is the indigenous population of South Africa that was pushed out by the Zulu, and it was the whites, right, the Boers, that moved and traded land and didn't fuck anybody over, didn't create weird treaties. They gave market prices for lands. The Boers purchased lands in South Africa. And then, obviously there's a deep racial hatred and history and violence and things like that. And of course, the pushback has been kind of like, the pendulum has swung, right? Death to the Boers kind of situation, which is probably going to be the death of South Africa is the hatred of whites there. It's probably what's going to destroy that country. But I mean, fuck are you going to do after you instituted apartheid for 20 years and fucking basically enslaved people for so long? It's kind of made your bed. But again, Zimbabwe,
okay. Let me give you some example. Let me give you some example. All right.
It was way better off from a consequentialist framework, right?
No, it wasn't. Come on, man. Anyway, but I don't want to. So we don't want to go.
People are starving once you started reappropriating land because people didn't know how to fucking farm the land. So I mean, like, if we're giving these examples, I'm struggling, and here's where I'm struggling, right? It seems like you're giving examples of like of you support these things even though they're not righteous or good because they're the lesser.
They are righteous,
right? They're
against
a bigger evil. You think Bashar al-Assad's righteous? What's your definition of righteous?
Okay, well, look, these are the natives of the land. These are the people that won't back down, that won't bend the knee, that won't suck dick to the United States or Israel. These are the only ones that are giving refuge to the Israeli government that don't have everybody else as signed the Abraham Accords, which is like peace of Israel and forgetting the Palestinian. So. And I say, well, Israel is a colonialist state. Like, for example, this was something they did, to the Ethiopian Jews that came to Israel. Since they were the black Jews, they didn't consider them actually a real Jew. Are you really Jewish? Because your skin is very dark. So they had this thing where they falsely injected them with something to the woman to something so you don't have babies, or sterilize them. They chemically sterilize the Ethiopian women so they won't have black kids.
Wait,
that's
this is the first time ever hearing of the Israeli.
Well, I mean, check it out, my guy. Check it out.
When?
Check it out.
No, don't tell me check it out. When? Who? Give me names. Give me receipts.
The Israeli government did that, and I don't know, somewhere in 2010.
Okay. So in 2010, the Israeli government
in the 2010s, I say.
I'm sorry, what?
In the decade 2010s, in that area, in the decade 2010.
So like 13 to 3 years ago, Israel went on a large-scale eugenics campaign against black Jews so that there would be no black baby Jews. You have any idea? Like that's, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So just saying the Israeli government did that.
Well, Google it. I'm just saying, Google it.
Don't tell me to Google it. Like, just do you have anything to back that up? That's a huge claim.
Yeah, I mean, if I can just go online right now, I would probably definitely find that there was many places that there was many articles, certified articles from news agencies that shows that that Israeli did that.
Well, throughout the conversation, grab that for me, because what I'm hearing, right, is what I'm hearing is, I mean, it's a conspiracy theory, which doesn't mean the CIA created that term to slander anybody that has a conspiracy. But it is a conspiracy theory.
But it's not a conspiracy theory, my guy.
Well, no, I mean, it literally is, but that doesn't necessarily mean that a conspiracy isn't true, right? Like, it is a hypothesis about a conspiracy occurring.
Okay.
That being said, it sounds like when the West and Doctors Without Borders were trying to give the polio vaccine in North Africa, and then everyone said that they were sterilizing them so that they couldn't have Muslim babies, and now the world still has polio because of insane made-up shit as a means of collectivizing power and mistrust of the West. That's a bold claim. Like, you got to find evidence for that claim.
I'm telling you, man. Like, even Al Jazeera reported on it. Al Jazeera is a credible.
Is like a low bar as far.
What do you mean? It's one of the, okay, just because Arabic
of the Israeli government doing something bad, right? Like, they're super biased against Israel. Like, that's a low level source.
I mean, check it out, man. I mean, there's a sources on it. There's news sources on it. So, I mean, like, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just because people have reported on it. Another thing as well, that this was also TRT reported, that if you, they have this, the sperm bank of in Israel, and of IDF soldiers that have killed Israeli Palestinians, they get paid more money, and they're sought after more to what they call some Ubermensch shit, So if you are an Israeli IDF soldier that killed a Palestinian, your sperm is sought after for in the sperm clinic, and women will pay beaucoup money to get your sperm. Another colonialist stuff.
I mean, I don't know how that's colonialist. That just sounds like a couple of crazy people buying shit because ideologies, are confronting here. That one wouldn't surprise me, but it has nothing to do with the colonialist claim. But even more so, my claim is, why is it good to fight Israel and to be against Israel? Number one. And number two, how does that excuse any other, how does that excuse any other behavior that Assad or any other people are doing?
Well, for example, okay, so why is it good to fight Israel? Because, like I said, they treat you like dogs. I mean, they see you as dogs, as a colonial power. They see you as dogs. They see you lesser than human beings. So basically, they stop the natural decisions, the will and the what do you call it? For us, for Muslims and Arabs to choose our own destiny, they stopped that. For them being a big power in the Middle East, we have our own. People in the region wants to have their own destiny. People in the region want to have to have control of their faith and to rise up after what happened, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. But Israel being there, America being there, is basically damping us, putting shackles on us for not to have to follow on the destiny in the world nowadays. And that is one of the reasons why the Middle East is what it is today. That's why there's a lot of terrorism. That's why there's a lot of wars. That's why there's a lot of death and destruction. It's because those two powers, Israel and America, make sure that people don't ever rise up and become successful, because those two powers are there, and they see us lesser than human beings. So the saying goes, goy. What does that mean? Cow, right? Cow. Yeah, it means cow.
So I mean, Islam has people of the book, right, and has specific rules for which those that are non-Muslim will live under as second-class citizens by virtue of the fact that they're not Muslim born, even the converts. But also this idea that the argument is they see us as dogs. You unapologetically said that Hamas was a part of this blockade of people fighting Israel. That's good. And if your claim is they see us as dogs, I can just read their fucking charter. The day of judgment will not come until Muslims fight Jews and kill them. Then the Jews will hide behind rocks and trees, and the rocks and trees will cry out, "Oh, Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me. Come and kill me." Right? So the idea that they're bad because they see other people as dogs, which I think is a claim about an entire group of people, that is kind of a silly claim to make. You could certainly make that of many individual actors.
I get you, but
is fucking retarded if you're going to put Hamas as the good guys, because they say equally vile shit and believe equally vile shit. So let's just dismiss furthermore with that, unless you think that it's okay for some Jews, right, to say that non-Jews are dogs or lesser than, but somehow comparable and okay for Hamas to say that the rocks and trees will cry out that the Jew is hiding behind them. Please come and kill this dirty Jew that's hiding behind a rock. You know what I mean? Like, come on, it's a silly argument.
Well, one is a native of the land. One is a native of the land. Okay, so I give you this example. Okay, I give you this example. All right. In the Haitian Revolution, all right. In the Haitian Revolution, there was a man called Toussaint Louverture. You know about Toussaint Louverture, right?
I mean, I know a little bit about the Haitian Revolution, the players involved and all of that. You're going to have to refamiliarize myself. Like foreign policy in Haiti is not my fucking, forte.
Okay, so Toussaint Louverture was a magnanimous, well, he was a rebellious slave who freed Haiti who freed the slaves in Haiti. And he fought for the French Empire. He became an equal general. In the French Empire, and so he was a very magnanimous guy, very merciful guy. When even they defeated a town full of white people, and they didn't rape the white woman or take their clothes and stuff like that, and their things. They protected them even after they conquered that land. So the Napoleon was so arrogant, and the French general was so arrogant to look down upon the black people, that they came back in to enslave them, and they tricked Toussaint Louverture, and they arrested him and took him back to France. So when they got rid of Toussaint Louverture, the guy that replaced him was a fucking demon, Jean-Jacques Dessalines. So when he beat the French, after that he killed every single white person. Whether it doesn't matter if they're women or children. Mm-hmm. The only white people that survived were the Polish troops that defected from the French and fought with him. So that's what I'm saying. Modern day Middle East, they killed so many people, so many democracies. They coup d'etat Mohammed Mossadegh. Any people that wanted to negotiate with them, that wanted to be seen peacefully, like Yasser Arafat, got killed. A lot of people got killed, good democratic leaders that wanted to negotiate, that were heroic, I would say so myself, got eliminated or corrupted or threatened and fled the country. Now all the people are left is Jean-Jacques Dessalines. So this is the monsters that are left. This is the resistance, and basically you brought it on yourself. That's what I'm fucking saying. Because
hold on, pause. You said earlier that it was a mischaracterization for me to state your position. Trying to understand your position. Is that you believed it was right to choose the lesser of two evils, and then you said, well, that's not fair. But now you're saying that these people are monsters, but it's okay because they're fighting a greater evil.
No, exactly. So who do you support? Because in the Haitian Revolution, the people, the French Empire that came in there to enslave the people, they were just as ruthless as the other ruthless people that fought against them. I'm not justifying the actions of taking a little white baby and smashing against his brain against the wall. No, I'm not supporting that.
Why would I engage in such a false dichotomy? I don't choose the lesser of two evils. I call them both evil.
No, but one would free the blacks, though. So that's what I'm saying, though. One wants to enslave the blacks, the free people. Then the other wants to.
You're doing a consequentialist analysis, right? I'm not a consequentialist, right? I do not determine my morality by the intended outcomes in the future and which of those I think will be preferable based off of my subjective preferences. I determine morality first and foremost by whether or not it's justifiable under the non-aggression principle. I'm a libertarian, right? So murder is wrong. I don't care if you murder one person to save 100 people. It is unjustifiable to say that murder is good, right? I mean, obviously murder is a bad example because it has morality baked into the name, murder versus killing, but let's just say stealing, right? Stealing is wrong. Even if you steal to save your family from starving, I still consider stealing to be wrong. It is morally wrong. I do not engage in, well, I'll engage, but I didn't do an internal critique. But me personally, right? I don't say that, well, I believe that the outcomes of this evil will be less than the outcomes of this evil. Therefore, I like this evil. I don't pick the lesser of two evils.
No, but in this resistance, I would say, so it's not like I wouldn't call it evil, but in this resistance, this is war, man. This is war, and this is what the decade long of imperialism, offense, like Israel invading Lebanon. Because there was no Hezbollah. Like, let's remember, there was no Hezbollah before Israel came into Lebanon. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was no. So that's why I'm saying that.
Who invaded Lebanon first? Who invaded
Israel.
Lebanon first? Was it? So the Jews invaded Lebanon, which is perfectly peaceful. There was no problems going on in Lebanon, and then the Jews showed up, because that sounds kind of like not just blatantly false, but like we can see videos of that not being true, right? Like,
what are you talking about? Like, I mean, look, was there Hezbollah before the Israeli invasion of Lebanon?
I mean, there was what was the name of what was the name before Hezbollah? What was the Palestinian guards? I can't remember the name of it.
But they're not Hezbollah. Hezbollah is not Palestine.
There were anti-Israel groups that had attacked the Jews before Hezbollah existed. PLO.
But exactly, but they're not. But no, but Hezbollah is a Shia, what do you call it, Lebanese army. They were Palestinians living inside Lebanon. Yeah. But there was Arafat living in Lebanon, actually. Arafat and the Palestinians were living in Lebanon. So that's what I'm saying. Instead of negotiating with Arafat, instead of negotiating with the Palestinians,
PLO, no, they had negotiated with Arafat multiple times, gave them multiple concessions, and PLO did not want anything other than the Jews out of the Middle East. That was the only thing that they would have accepted. There was tons of treaties that gave rights and land to Palestinians, over and over and over again, and there have been tensions between the two of us.
What do you mean? Like, what did I? What do you call? They even assassinated. Okay, sorry. They even assassinated Yitzhak Rabin, and he was a Jew, and he signed because he signed a peace deal with Arafat. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the kind of region we're living in, because they even assassinated the Israeli president.
I'm just curious.
Huh?
You said
what?
We, like, where are you? You said we are living in. Are you living there?
In the region, I'm talking about, like, no, I'm partially Yemeni, like, but no, I'm just saying the region. I'm just saying the Middle East, like, but what was I about to say though? So so this is the kind of stuff we live in, like, we're living in, because even the Jewish guy that signed a peace deal, and I think that was the Oslo Accords, and that was the peace deal for the peace deal. That was like in the future, we're going to do this, and then and so even he got killed by his own people.
Okay,
so
you're saying Rabin was killed by the Jews? And because the Jews are just a people, right? Like, why?
Oh, come on, man! Look, Scott, are you Jewish? Number one, can I go ask that question? Are you Jewish?
No, in fact, I'm actually part Lebanese. My great grandmother's a Christian refugee from Lebanon, from the period.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't have any real connection to the culture. I'm a mutt. I'm an American mutt.
Okay.
Not that it matters.
But.
Well, you just saw my big nose and white skin, and you thought I was a Jew? All right.
No. That's what I'm fucking saying, man. But no, but what I'm trying to say is
I see it. Are the rocks and trees crying out that I'm hiding behind them?
No, man. Anyway, man, I just want to make sure. But anyway, what I'm trying to say though is just like, look, it's not about Jewish people. It's not about the faith or the Jewish people. It's about being a colonialist, empire there, and it's about America as well, aiding and abetting that colonialist empire, and doing horrible things like what's that prison actually, like where they were like.
This is what I'm trying to understand, right? Your issue is that I'm trying to understand where you're gauging this idea that it's wrong from. Like, you're bringing up individual actions, and like this can be an interesting conversation if that's the scope of the conversation, right? Like, I don't know that I'm necessarily the best equipped for it, because my understanding of the Israel-Palestinian conflict is limited. Right, I do have some understanding of some of the issues and some of the wars, and some of the invasions and some of the issues, and like water and stuff like that.
No, but I put it forward to you though.
Real quick,
But I put it forward to you, though.
Listen. Let me finish.
Okay.
So there is this thing where you keep referencing that it's a colonial power, right? And when you're saying it's a colonial power, this is meant to be a default bad. And so I'm trying to understand, you said you support Assad, right? Which is something we really have barely touched on. I want to get back to that conversation at some point. But because they're fighting against colonial powers. So what, and I keep asking you, what is wrong about a group of people that may or may not be indigenous to a region or have been separated for too long, in your opinion, to claim that region historically as theirs? What is wrong with people coming to a region, buying land and living on that land? Like, what is it that you keep using the word colonial as if that automatically means it's bad? But I want it, like, was it bad? Like, what is it about it that is bad? Not this like, oh, well, this one time I read about this theory or this thing or this person did this thing. Yeah, we can play tit for tat all day long about shit Palestinians have done to Israel. We can talk about fucking bombing discotheques and shit like that too, right? But like, when we go tit for tat, like, we're not getting anywhere. Like, why is that wrong? Why is that bad?
Okay, number one, it's not about just what we call buying houses and etc. Nobody cares about you buying houses. For example, the Emirates are mostly what we call, the Emirates are mostly for, No, come on, man. Let me just put it
off about buying houses.
They're not buying houses; they're stealing houses. Other people, they're demolishing other people, so they're kicking other people out and taking their. That's not what we're talking about. But anyway, but what I want to say though, so the Emirates are full of foreigners, right? Americans go there, whoever, I don't know, Russians, Chinese, whoever, there are more foreigners there than the natives there. But at the end of the day, the natives are respected. This is their land, and this is their rule, and they dirige the country. They make the decisions, and they follow their own destiny. So everybody's okay with it. But if you want to go buy a house in Dubai, you can. Actually, my cousin wanted to buy a house in Dubai, and he's a foreigner. He's not from that land.
I mean, but you're a second-class citizen there. But as long as you follow the rules, they don't really give.
It's not really. Well, look, in America, I'm a second-class citizen too as an immigrant. It's just like. Exactly. So, of course, you can't be the elite of the elite. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you can't immigrate to a place and be the elites of the elites. I mean, every country has the elites, and everybody has But.
Okay, but again, you're saying. I don't understand your argument. Your argument is that there are people that live somewhere. Therefore, anyone else of a different skin color, religion, or heritage from a different region of the world, by and large, if they set up shop somewhere, they're a colonial power.
No, dude. Like, I'm talking about if you take land by force, take out the native people, brutalize them, treat them like dogs. And then have your boy America as well, strangle other people as well, and make sure you don't follow your own destiny. That is a problem. If you come in there by force, kick people out, put them down on your knee, put them underneath you, have checkpoints, and so they can't go to this place and that place. Have them cut off their electricity at this time, cut off their water at this time. Also they do all sorts of devious stuff, man. I can't even go through it all right now, but but
the argument is that consequentially, it is better to fight against these powers because of the things that they're doing against me. I don't understand that argument because of Israel. If all of Israel packed up tomorrow, right? Every Israeli citizen packed up and moved to Canada. Listen. Magic hypothetical, right? All Israeli citizens and government and everything, they just pack up and they relocate to Canada tomorrow. The Palestinians' lives would be fucking horrible under Jordan.
Oh my God.
And you know it.
Oh my God, man. Get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Are Palestinians as a group treated better under Israel or better under Egyptian and Jordanese rule, under the Jordan king? Tell me. Be honest and don't bullshit me. Which is better?
Under Jordan is better. There's Palestinians living in Jordan is better than where they're living.
Get the fuck out of here. You're coping. You're eating the propaganda, my God.
No, man. Look, I've been to Jordan. I've been to Jordan. I've been to Jordan. I've been to Jordan.
Palestinians than they are under Israel.
Yeah, I've been to Jordan.
The fuck you want. The only problem is when you have terrorists in your communities, they come in, they get hard fucking handed. Like it's a complicated thing for sure. And Israel has certainly several abuses. But the idea that you'd be treated better under Jordan? Come on.
Dude, I was in a coffee shop in Jordan with Palestinians and Jordanians.
You can go to a coffee shop in fucking Tel Aviv right now with no problems. That's not an argument.
No, but like a Palestinian living in a Palestinian Authority cannot go to that same coffee shop in Israel without permission from the Israeli government. He has to apply permission. He cannot go to Tel Aviv.
I mean, is it that hard? Is it that hard to go to Tel Aviv?
Yeah, if you're living in those camps in camps in Gaza, good luck going anywhere, man. And if you're living in Gaza or in Ramallah, good luck going to Tel Aviv, man. There are like roadblocks and.
Okay, but you recognize that there is a consistent conflict between both countries. Well, both.
There's no country.
There's no country there. I mean, you guys, the Palestinians have had plenty of opportunities to form a country and be given.
All right, Scott.
Rejected it every time because the Jews need to be chased to the sea.
All right, Scott. Anyway, it looks like we're not going to go in a headway with the Israeli question. So let's go move forward with the American thing. All right, with the America and why I support the resistance. Okay. So Israel, we've come at an impasse, but okay. So either ways, considering Syria or the rest of the region, you at least concur that America has is a bad actor. Has no moral authority to tell other people what to do or to dirige affairs in the Middle East. Yes or no?
I mean, I would say that American, as far as is concerned, the only authority it has is the negotiation of its citizens abroad, right? Like if an American business entity has like a deal in Saudi Arabia or something, or some other place, and then like the government just seizes their property, right? I think the American government has like a vested interest in protecting its citizens' property rights and things abroad. But I would say, or negotiating in some capacity to get, let's say, an American that might get kidnapped or something like that. Other than that, right? I don't think America has any interest involved in the affairs of any countries in the Middle East.
Exactly. So we are in agreement. So Bashar al-Assad is better than what the stupid American government in the region, under false democracy, initiative, where they're the ones that support dictators in the region, coup d'etat, democracies like Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran.
Assad is a dictator, right?
Well, yeah, he's a dictator, but I mean, who's America to say? But who's America to say so while supporting other dictators? I mean, why don't you shut up? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Just like why,
the idea isn't about being neutral to a country. Like I can recognize Assad is an evil dictator, right? And not think that America needs to intervene to stop that, or that it is our right to go over there and bomb people. Right.
And it is hypocritical because you support Saudi Arabia.
Well, I think your thumb is on whatever your speaker is or something.
Okay, sorry. And it is hypocritical because because they support Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Emirat, which are kingdoms.
Any of that shit?
No, I'm talking about American government. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so it is hypocritical, and not only that, the funniest thing was Samantha Powers. She put out when the war started, she took out a gay Syrian and she brought him to the UN, and he talked about how the Syrian government is not like gay people and etc. Who in the Middle East is a pro gay rights, and who the fuck and at the same time they were supporting jihadists in Syria, so who the fuck was fighting for gay rights in Syria? I mean, but that's what they portrayed as, so they're liars.
Let me hear your argument as to why we should support Assad. Why you support Assad, and then I'll tell you how I feel about the situation. And then maybe we can have a conversation after that, because I feel like we're bouncing around a little bit. I want to hear
Okay.
like a good concise thing from.
Okay, I support Bashar al-Assad because without him, all the what do you call it, the Druze, the Christians, and and the Alawites, which is also he is, would have been slaughtered by the jihadists we supported. Bashar al-Assad was also a secularist. Bashar al-Assad also is the last refuge for the Palestinians. What do you call it? Revolutionaries like the PFLP and etc. and PIG. So that is why, and that is also, and the reason that's why a lot of people fought and died for him. It's not because for his dictator, but it's for the idea of the resistance. That's why people from Hezbollah, people of the Christians, the Druze, people from Iraq, people from Iran, all came for his defense. So these are people of the region. Even if you go to Lebanon, you can see the people that what do you call it? All the martyrs that died. The flags. Of all the martyrs that died.
Will you recognize that Bashar al-Assad is the lesser of two evils?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think what do you call it? Because one is a foreign power. So I mean, just like there's no other thing. I mean, one is a foreign power.
This doesn't make sense. Bashar al-Assad is evil. That doesn't mean that I think America should be bombing them. That doesn't mean that I think that there is that whatever fucking. That doesn't mean that like America trying to fucking sell weapons to Turkey that just get funneled to al-Nusra to fucking fight Assad is like a good thing, right? Like I'm not looking at that as like a good thing, but that doesn't mean that like we can't like why like I have no reason to support Assad because Assad is an evil dictator.
I wouldn't say evil. I would say ruthless dictator.
Okay, ruthless. Okay. So. Hear me out, right? Was it wrong for Assad to restrict water to regions that were in conflict with his rule?
Yeah. Like I'm not going to defend every what do you call it actions that he does. That's what I'm saying. I support the resistance.
Shell hospitals.
I mean, look, modern warfare. At the end of the day, I don't know if he did what do you call it deliberately. But modern warfare, either way, is like it is a very, very high-powered stuff. You shoot stuff like I don't know, like a dozen at a time. Anyways, where that lands, God knows, man. God knows.
So if we were to take this situation, right, we recognize that there's a conflict, civil war, right, in Syria between two groups, and you're saying America has supported and intervened in such a way to destabilize the region. And that when it was under Assad's rule, it was far more stable. The minorities were better protected. I see you all of that. So we kind of excuse, to a certain degree, the shelling of hospitals, but it doesn't seem that you're willing to bite the bullet on restricting water to areas. It seems like you're recognizing that is an evil thing that Assad has done to its people. Is that an accurate description so far of where we're at?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't support every action those people do. I don't that's why I don't support Jean-Jacques Dessalines, murdering women and children either. But I support him in like the liberation of Haiti and the freedom of Black people, and that's what I support also. Like the not just Bashar al-Assad, but the Shia Crescent, because these people are from the land. They will fight for it. They will die for it. I've seen them like what you call without arms or legs. I'm not willing to do that for even for my country, like let alone theirs. But anyway, so they're there to stick it out through, and they love their land, they love their country. So, and who are we to tell them, how to govern themselves as foreigners, and to tell them, you need this government, that government. So who are we to tell them? And these people will fight and die for it. They will fight and die for their theocracy and their God. But yeah, I believe they are fanatical. Yeah.
Okay, so this is an interesting way of approaching foreign policy and whether or not you believe something is right or wrong from a moral perspective. Because the actions that I laid out, I specifically chose those actions because those seem to be common arguments against Israel, right? Is that any time Israel restricts any level of water to Palestine, people go up in arms about how evil Israel is, and yet Assad does it all the time. And people will get really, really angry when Israel will target buildings that presumably have women and children in them, and non-combatants, when those are the very buildings that missiles and things are coming from. And it seems like you're saying, well, the key difference here between these two situations is not whether or not the action is actually bad. It's not that restricting water is bad in and of itself, or that shelling a hospital is bad in and of itself. Obviously, Assad has done way, way worse things than Israel could ever imagine. Like,
I don't think so. But all right, but we'll leave it at that.
Kidnap. I mean, fucking, I don't know. Amnesty International reports of them, running into towns and raping and torturing boys for information. Things like, I mean, like there's some fucked up shit that happens under.
What about Sabra and Shatila, man? Sabra and Shatila. What is Sabra and Shatila?
I'm not familiar. You're gonna have to.
Okay.
The accent too is like, even sometimes I might know who you're talking about, but I don't understand.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, Sabra and what do you call it? In the Lebanon War, Sabra and Shatila were actually. Have you seen Waltz with Bashir?
I'm sorry. How do I say what?
Have you seen the movie Waltz with Bashir?
Waltz with Bashir? No, I haven't. Is it a good?
Okay. Well, it's an Israeli movie by an Israeli soldier in the Lebanon War, and at the end he shows what happened in Sabra and Shatila, which was a Palestinian refugee camp. This was after the PLO left. They were defeated by Israel, and they negotiated, and the PLO left Lebanon to Tunisia. When that happened, the Israelis surrounded this refugee camp full of Palestinians, women and children mostly. Mm-hmm. And they surrounded it, and they let their phalangists, which are like the Christian Lebanese, and I think what's the guy's name? I forgot his name. Anyway, Eli Hobeika, I think that was his name. Yeah, Eli Hobeika and his buddies, they went in there and like with axes and stuff like that, raped. And these are women and children anyway, like, raped, bludgeoned them to death. Huh?
Send it to me. Can you send it to me? As soon as you get that fucking an article proving that in the 2010s, the Jews were engaged in euthanizing black Jews so black babies couldn't be.
Not euthanize, it's sterilizing.
That's euthanize. That's euthanasia, all right?
No, euthanasia is like when you're dying and they kill you. That's it. When you're on your deathbed and you say, all right, yeah, doctor, I don't want to survive anymore.
Term I was looking for is eugenics. I apologize.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, euthanasia is what you do to your puppy when they just can't go on. So the thing here is that you seem to say that the principal difference is that it seems like you're willing to excuse any war crime. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't interrupt. You're willing to excuse any war crime if it is done in the interest of the regional population and the historically regional population.
No, I'm not.
Any group that is an outside population. And I cannot fathom where you're deriving that moral argument.
No, I'm not willing to excuse. That's why I said it multiple times. I don't condone every action every group takes. Come on, man. I don't condone every action. Like I support the Palestinian cause, right? I support the Palestinian cause, but sometimes when they do evil stuff as well, I don't support it. I think that is wrong. If they go into a Jewish school and kill Jewish children, I'm not going to support that. And I'm pretty sure even even Palestinian Authority wouldn't support that, nor even Hamas. So there are things I support and there are things I don't support. So, but I support I support resistance as a whole.
Hamas won't publicly support it, but half the time they're the ones funding it.
But anyway, show me the proof as well. Show me the paperwork. But
all right, I'll get right on that after we get to the eugenics one. All right.
Okay, cool. So in whole, I just support the So who do you support if you don't support the native population and them getting their freedom and etc.? Who do you support?
I don't give a fuck about a collective identity of a native population. I think it's a myth based off of identitarianism that people have pulled, right? I had an interesting conversation once with a white supremacist, and he was talking about his like distinct heritage as he was in the UK, right? He was talking about his distinct heritage as a white European, as a white person, and his desire to maintain the sanctity of his ethnicity, his culture, and his race, right? And if you were to switch the race, it becomes way less problematic. As soon as it's a white dude saying this shit, it's like, holy fuck, everybody be scared, right? But if it was some other group in another country, a lot of people would be like, oh, I kind of get that, right? But white supremacists, right? Bad guy, right? And the thing that I remember talking to him about was like, I was like, well, what culture are you talking about as a British person? Are you talking about Normand? Are you talking about Anglo-Saxon? Are you talking about the Gauls? Like, what part of the culture of your Gaelic faith and paganism have you maintained, right? And it's not. The dude's a fucking wasp, right? He's a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Some other group came in, conquered them, outbred them, and like interbred with the local community, destroyed their fucking religion, destroyed their culture, and then mixed a bunch of different groups, tribes, ethnicities, and cultures together. And then this eventually became the Englishman, right? And it's like, so like what culture, what thing are you talking about? I think when you look at history in a long enough time frame, you realize that like, I don't give any credence to a specific identity or nationality group you have. I give credence to human rights. When I see human rights violations and aggression, that upsets me. Those are things that I want to fight against. But like, I don't care where you're from. What I care about is, did you exert force and violence as a means of gaining your land and your property? Did you steal? Did you murder? Did you kill? Did you take what it is that you have? And
okay, so Israel did do that.
Both of them are horrible.
So Israel did do that.
I mean, in some instances, in other instances, they didn't. Right before the British came in, before the British came in and divvied up sections of Israel about what percentages they could move in and where they could buy land. You had other forces stopping people from peacefully migrating there, Zionists, if you will, right? There are plenty of people in Israel that have no support for any of the military action that Israel is taking, that are Jews, that 100% rightfully came into unoccupied territory, homesteaded the land, and built land there, and they have no less claim to that land than any other ethnic population.
Okay, but like, okay, cool. So can I say this? Before Israel was there, there were Jews in the Middle East, yeah? There were Jews in the Palestine area, what we call right now,
everywhere.
There were Jews everywhere, Morocco, Tunisia. Even after they were kicked out of Spain, they came to Morocco and we gave them refuge. There were Jews in Yemen, there were Jews in Ethiopia, Jews in Iraq. So those people, they didn't have power or anything like that, but we didn't treat them like shit like the Europeans did. We didn't hunt them down and put them in concentration camp, or there was pogroms in Russia and etc. So we didn't treat them like shit. So, but when they're treated like shit in Europe, they became like they became disgruntled and came to a third world country, and it started acting like high and mighty, like the people that fucking killed them as well, like the people that abused them. So that is the wrong thing. So like, you're abused. Now you're coming over to abuse me and acting like high and mighty. Like, it's, and then.
Here's the difference, right? I think it's a fundamental difference in our philosophies, is that I'm an individualist and you're a collectivist, right? You think of Jews based upon what it is that the Jewish state, or what are the historical things that Judaism, Jews, or the Jewish government have done. I don't give a fuck so much as I care about, because I'm an anarchist, right? I don't believe in any of these fucking states. But I'm looking at what have individuals done. And so like, when we play this tit for tat about like evil things that have occurred, like, I don't really feel that it gets anywhere other than continuing the kind of conflict and the idea that there are different people doing bad things. Like, I don't want to sound like fucking Elon Omar over here. Like, some people did some things, right? But what I'm saying is that like, names need to be named, and those people deserve punishment. Those people deserve And the victims of those people deserve vengeance and retribution against those individuals. And that is not something that can be laid at the claim of either Israel or Palestinians. Like, a lot of bloodshed has occurred on both sides. The thing that we're getting to is, you're saying fighting Israel is good because Israel are foreigners. And like, it's weird that you choose Israel.
No, but no. Come on. No. Stop there. No, I did not say just because they are foreigners. Come on, man. Come on. I didn't go that far. I didn't say they were because they were foreigners. No, I said because they were colonialists.
Please explain yourself. Because I'm trying to understand the crux of the thing of why there is a critical difference between the horrors that Assad has committed on his people versus the same actions that you seem to have an abhorrent reaction to when individuated and talking about Israel.
Okay. Number one, what do you call it? Assad, I wouldn't call what do you call it? He did a lot of bad things, but he did it and other people helped him as well to save the resistance and to stop the encroachment of the American empire into his land.
Okay, right. So, well, I mean, it's not his land, right? He was a dictator over a group. Are you there, or did you disconnect? Uh-oh, boys. I think we got a DC.
Yeah, sorry about that. There was some technical malfunction. Yeah, just forgot to put on the plugs. Anyway.
It happens.
Yeah.
So what we were discussing, just as a reframe for both the audience and for you, is the critical difference as to why some of these actions that we can individuate and say are evil, why it is, in your opinion, that they're justified, or, the price one has to pay to fight, other powers, in Assad's case, but not in the case of, Israel, for example.
Well, okay. Removing Israel, for example, I'm just saying, why is America, let's go back to America, because why is America bombing the shit out of people? Why is America, taking, a third of Syria? So, I mean, all these things. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Number one, to maintain the United States dollar, the U.S. dollar, is the reserve currency for trading oil in the world. That's the number one. Number two is to help its allies in its mission, which is primary to number one, right? So in order to do that, we have to stay buddy-buddy with Saudi Arabia, despite them being one of the most evil countries in the Middle East. And we have to help, blockade Yemen and things like that, and kind of turn a blind eye when things like that are occurring. In terms of Syria, I would say it's because Bashar al-Assad was engaging in shock therapy of the economy into a more capitalist market economy, also still trying to maintain his power. It's a delicate balancing act, and he just kind of got fucked that occurred during the Arab Spring. And that was in many ways instigated by the West.
Okay.
And the problem is that by doing that, he was aligning with Russia and Iran in more so than he was aligning with America, and would become probably, if not stopped, if not for the Syrian war, I don't know for a fact, but I would say that if that didn't occur, Syria would probably be a pretty big major power player in the region at this point. Because I think the economy was likely to turn around towards a more fascistic, because that's what Assad is, a fascist, right? He's not really a communist or social. He's not, he's a secularist. He's not really kind of like a neo-Baathist, right? Like his dad was. He's much less socialist and more fascistic. And so
I wouldn't say fascistic because
I think it threatened that power.
I don't know if they would say fascistic because of all the minorities he's protecting, but he just, first of all, Assad actually is not. It's not
fair. When, as an ANCAP, as a libertarian, sometimes we get a little loosey-goosey with the term fascist because we're usually using it to describe economic policy. And from an economic standpoint, he's very fascist.
Probably, yes. So I agree with you on that. But yeah, so I want to go back to, I want to go to Ukraine. And yeah, so, but in closing, I would say that, as you can see right now, a lot of foreigners, like, white foreigners and etc., are visiting Syria. You can see the YouTube videos, they're pretty happy and safe there. Like we were talking about, and there's like a lot of kids playing around the streets. There's Christmas trees, all sorts of stuff going on there. And yeah, so we're told, we're in propaganda, is that this guy is a monster and he only cares about his power and etc. and etc. That he eats children. I don't know, like I'm just exaggerating a little bit, but like that's basically what they're saying, So, so as you can see right now, he won the war, and what happened, right? It was more stable. But as you can see, what happened in Libya, after we fucked the shit up and we say we brought democracy to those people, what the fuck happened over there?
We brought open-air slave markets to those people is what we brought.
Yeah. And it's still a divided country, like full of warlords and etc., killing each other for money and all sorts of shit. So, yeah, so if you support the Palestinian cause, if you support resistance, yeah, these are the ruthless killers, but there are no more heroes anymore. And, these are the people that will fight for their rights and their dignity and their freedom.
I'm sorry.
You're
making it sound. Do you have to go?
No. I'm saying no. Like for the Ukrainian stuff, we want to go. But closing argument. That's what I want to say.
I want to transfer over to the Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, look, I as a libertarian, I don't view the world as choosing the lesser of two evils. I think we choose the tactics that move us towards our goal, and because none of these states, as far as I'm concerned, anarchists, are legitimate, and what that means to me is supporting non-interventionism, crippling these massive global hegemonic forces that want to fuck with other countries and things like that. And yet, I'm still going to call evil out when I see it. And when I see Bashar al-Assad, I see an evil person who is engaged in the economy in a fascistic way. At the same time, I also recognize, right, that, Western involvement hasn't made that better. It has led to untold death and suffering and bombing, and has antagonized what is a evil dictator into terror campaigns against his own people so that he can solidify control. And there is an understanding there that if he just didn't, right, that al-Nusra and maybe the Kurds, probably not the Kurds. Kurds tend to do pop shots out of their territory and then run back. They're a little bit more defensive, right? But that ISIL, all of these other entities would gobble this fucking country up and destroy it. And so yeah, I think Iraq was better under Saddam Hussein than when we invaded and murdered millions of people. And so I think the same thing is true, but that doesn't mean I'm going to fucking support these people. These people are evil. So yeah, I'm willing to move towards an anti-war stake. I don't think you and I are ever going to agree on Israel versus Palestine, and that's okay. We're just going to have to let that one go.
Okay.
And talk about other things. I would love to move over to Ukraine. I do have one question though. Could you possibly, I don't know how tired you are, could you save just a little bit of time at the end for like a couple of questions? Because then you talked about a lot of stuff. You seem to have quite a bit of knowledge on certain things, and people might want to take you to task and or just ask your question to extrapolate on stuff. Sure. When you're like, hey, I gotta go, could you give me that like a half hour before you actually have to go so we can get some Q&As?
Sure. Good thing. Yeah, I will tell you. Yeah. Okay,
so moving on to Ukraine. I feel like the impetus to this conversation was likely my debate on against Dylan Burns, UkrainianAnna, Brianna Wu on Wick's panel, which I gotta say was a bit of a shit show. A lot of people on Twitter got real mad at me for telling UkrainianAnna that maybe your dad would be alive if the West didn't tank negotiations. They got real fucking mad. I was getting mass flagged. It was like, God damn it, motherfuckers. But this binary thinking is really interesting over there. So what are your thoughts on that? And that debate, I guess, was probably why you spoke to me. If you don't want to talk about the debate, I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, I will talk about the debates. For number one, I would say Dylan Burns and what's her name? Anna.
Her name's Anna. Her name is like much longer Ukrainian name that I can't pronounce.
Okay. Well, yeah, those two, number one, they have to toe the line. They have to toe the line, or else they get in trouble with the Zelensky government. Because, you've heard what they did to it, what's his name? I think it was MSNBC or etc. Because he went to Crimea and asked the people in Crimea, hey, is Crimea Russian or is it Ukrainian? And people are like, fuck you, man. It's like, of course it's Russian, man. And then he told the truth. He said, doesn't look like these people want to be part of Ukraine. So Ukraine.
I mean, it's just to clarify for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know whether or not Crimea is Russian or Ukrainian, because I think Crimea is Crimean. I think people.
Crimea is Tatar, yeah, it's Tatar.
That being said, it's been under Russian occupation or control, whatever term you want to use, for 8 fucking years, and a majority of the industry there is Russian industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the jobs there are Russian jobs. The people there speak Russian more predominantly over Ukrainian. That doesn't, but you know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard to tell. But also because a lot of people have fled Crimea, right? Like there are a lot of people that are deep in their heart Ukrainians. And when shit started popping off and the protests and, Parliament or the Rada there, right, was overthrown. A lot of people fled Crimea to go closer to Kiev, right? So it's like, I don't know, like that's a difficult.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is though, like the guy reported something, that was a little bit counter to the narrative toward the Kievan government, which is like, totally I support you, Kiev, I support you, Zelensky's a hero, that kind of like automaton kind of attitude, we are winning this war, or like, should we're going to die to the last Ukrainians, or if you don't, give up these automaton, like, what do you call it, robotic speeches, which is like, I heartily support Ukraine, is like, you're going to get fucked up. You're either going to get, what do you call it, like what happened to the MSNBC guy, they revoked his, I think, credentials, and they blocked the MSNBC in that hotel. They wouldn't even let him out to do interviews.
Can we be fair?
Yeah.
That is evil. That is corrupt. That is all part of the propaganda machine.
Mm-hmm.
But if he was in Russia, he would just be in a gulag, right? Like Russia wouldn't revoke his credentials. They'd be like, oh, this guy's a foreign asset managed by the CIA. We're going to go ahead and have a trial in 3 days. And what do you know? We investigated our claim and we found our claim was true. Off to the gulag with you, right? Like,
no, what do you mean?
Way worse.
No, what do you mean? Like there was that Vice lady. What's her name? That smug bitch. I'm sorry, like I cursing on the internet.
No. We're on Rumble. If you want to call somebody a smug bitch, call him a smug bitch.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about. The smug bitch from Vice. You know what I'm talking about, right? She's this Latino.
To be clear, I'm also referencing the Washington Post journalist that Russia arrested. That's been over there for like 20 fucking years and seems to be, by all standards, a pretty stand-up guy.
Yeah, but in his case, I don't know. I can't comment on it because I haven't read up on it. But like that smug bitch, she went to Russia and interviewed the orphan lady, the orphanage director of the Ukrainian kids, and then basically she just ask her all these nasty questions like, are you sure you're not committing genocide, blah blah blah. She did that.
She's like, bitch, I run an orphanage. I'm not Putin. Like, what the fuck do you want from me? Like, I'm just trying to get these kids fed. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Anyway, like, so that's another thing as well. Like, having like taking care of orphans is tantamount of committing genocide, which is another nonsense. That is propaganda. When we do it, it's okay. So we're doing out of the goodness of our heart, like Operation Baby Lift in Vietnam. When they do it, it's genocide. So
I'm curious because you seem to have a very, I don't know, maybe I would say probably like, I'm assuming you're a socialist. That seems to be just the frame I'm getting. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have an interesting view on the landscape. And so my question, how do you feel about Nord Stream? Because I've gotten the new information that just came out about Nord Stream. Because I've gotten a lot of flack from my own people, in my opinion, but I want to hear yours first.
Well, the Nord Stream, of course, we know that the American blew it up because, they're the ones that have the power to do so, the technology to do so. And why would Russia...
Okay, there was an elite group of dudes from Ukraine that totally weren't affiliated with Ukraine that had scuba diving equipment, and they rented a sailboat out of Germany, and they just kind of went over to the pipeline and they used their scuba diving expertise to blow up the pipeline. It couldn't possibly be the American government that had divers out there 2 days before in the region. I don't know what kind of craziness you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah. Anyway, like it's just like some of the stuff they talk about, like it's like make us look. They think we're total complete idiots, and that's what I'm saying. So those people that in Ukraine that talk all that fanatical nonsense, that they cannot speak anything other than that, or else they get in trouble. So that is why it's no use to talk to those people about that, because they will get in trouble. And that is why I'm also against this war, because this war would have big ramifications for us in the West as well, especially in Europe, because there's people like, what's his name, Graham Phillips. You know Graham Phillips, right?
Bald, refresh my memory.
Okay. So he's a journalist, from Britain, bald guy. And, he went to, in the start of the 2014, he went to the Donbass, hanging out with GV, which was one of the Motorola, which was one of the Donbass warlords, separatists. And he was hanging out with them and everything like that. And he was reporting from them. And as soon as this war started, I think all his bank accounts was frozen in Britain. And he was, I think they even took his passport or something. I don't know. I'm not sure the whole thing, but I know his bank accounts were frozen. And, so even if he comes back to UK, he might get arrested. So this is the thing that's going to, this thing is going to escalate bad for everybody as well. So this is not just about Russia and Ukraine, because when Europeans fight, this will this has the chance to fuck all of us over. And all of us here in Europe, I'm in Europe right now. I don't know, in America, it's probably not going to be the same thing, but in Europe, everybody's going to be like, either you have to be part of NATO or support NATO, or you are a fucking traitor, and we have to put you in a fucking concentration camps, not the concentration camp like the Nazis, but not the Nazis one, but like the Japanese one we had in America. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So the different kind of concentration camp.
It's a different, I don't know, concentration camp, still concentration camp.
Well, they don't kill you, right? That's what I'm saying. They put you in jail.
So, again, as a libertarian, I view this a little bit different. Like I said, I don't think Casimir and I think if you saw the end of the debate, like the open panel, I don't know if you did, we have a very, very similar opinion about what it is that we actually want. And I was accused multiple times of having no position other than just being a pacifist, which is hilarious because I'm not. But, what I think needs to be done in the region is UN peacekeeping, like a Russian withdrawal, and then UN peacekeeping troops comprised of multiple NATO allies in the region. U.S. peacekeeping forces, possibly, it doesn't matter. To secure those regions for long enough for people to return home and to rebuild to a certain degree, and then to allow those regions to vote where it is that they want. Right? Do they want their independence? Do they want to be a part of Russia? Do they want Ukraine, etc.? And then and look at those elections. Now, again, as an anarchist, right? I don't think any form of government that is imposed non-voluntarily against people is one that I support. I think the only right moral justification. But looking at the Nord Stream, I get a lot of flack from the anti-war crowd, because when I look at this from a theoretical position, I can't come up with an argument as to why it's wrong for Ukraine to bomb the Nord Stream pipeline. I really can't. I mean, Russia is invaded, right? Undoubtedly. Now, we can look at why Russia invaded, right? We can look at the shutting down of news media. We can look at the seizing of industry that was Russian owned. We can look at Crimea and the blocking of the water supply and some of the problems in the Donbass. But all of that aside, right? Russia's full blown, like if Russia had just invaded and secured Donbass and like gotten water back to Crimea, Russia might have an argument that was legitimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like bombing Kiev, they have no fucking argument, right? Like this is a full, like that form of an invasion is just unjustified. And so in their own defense, I don't understand why it would be wrong for Ukraine to bomb Nord Stream. It just seems like no one is willing to say it because of the narrative that you talked about. Because right now the narrative is Ukraine's fighting for democracy, you know, Russia, the evil bad guys. And no one wants to admit Ukraine and America had no problem blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. Oh, and by the way, that's why your food is 5% more expensive. And that's why, you know, your second cousins, you know, froze and had a cold death because the energy costs during the winter were too high, right? Like that's the real thing, is that we're being affected by this war economically, which in turn causes fentanyl overdoses and loss of jobs and distribution. Like every 1% unemployment is like 4 million people that die in America. And like people don't recognize that that's what happens when the economy takes a downturn. So I'm curious what you think on that.
Okay, well, I think a lot, man. But I think one of the biggest problems right now, as we have seen against this war and the propaganda against this war, even Anna, you know, the Russian has been, you know, like what do you call it? Yellow. What color was her hair again? Green haired. She was the green haired, the Joker hair. Anyway, you know, the Russian Ukrainian.
Dyed her hair green.
Yeah, she's rewriting history, man, and so is a lot of people. So when you see people burning books like they're doing in Ukraine, burning books and banning Russian languages and destroying the Russian statues who founded the city, like Catherine the Great founded Odessa, and burning, demolishing statues of Pushkin and etc. These people are rewriting history. For Russia, is not a color.
I know I'm interrupting a lot, but I just want to point out, she told me live that there were no language laws in Ukraine. And I was like, the fuck are you talking about? There absolutely were. Like, it was illegal to have too many Russian films. Like, the government forced pushing Ukrainian as a language on its people.
Yeah. It's nonsense. Total nonsense and total lies. Moreover, was about to say, you know, she talked about that you know Russia colonized Ukraine, which is a total lie as well, and that they fought forever to get freedom from Ukraine. So like there was only one little battle. I think Ukraine, like I think it was in the 1920s or something, when the Tsar fell. They tried to like get their separate country, and under Stefan Bandera. But that was it, because she tried to compare her country, Ukraine, to Ireland, which is totally fucking wrong. Because show me, I've been to Ireland, right? Show me all the
she didn't want to talk about Bandera for very long. She was like, I denounce that. And I'm like, well, that's the only time you actually fought fucking Russia before the collapse of the fucking USSR.
Yeah. So before, like, you know, in Ireland, there's like so many statues of and pictures of all the martyrs that died fighting England. You know. Mm-hmm. Who are all those? Where are those statues, and what are the names of all these martyrs that fought that died fighting Russia? You know, where are they? They aren't there, because
I mean, but like Russia did a lot of fucked up things to the Ukrainian people and controlled them for so long as well. I mean, let's not forget that there was a literal fucking genocide that they conducted on the Ukrainians.
What genocide on the Ukrainians?
The Holodomor.
That was not a genocide on the Ukrainians. That was a starvation. What do you call? No.
Intentional mass starvation, because socialists can't fucking feed people, and adopted Lysenkoism, and then fucking went after every hardworking property owner and just called them fucking kulaks and had them fucking lining up to kill each other.
But was that
genocide, my guy?
Was that only Ukrainians, or they did that to Russian people as well? They did that to Georgians as well. They did it to a lot of people. There's not just for Ukrainians. I mean, just saying, like, you know.
Specifically, hold on.
Exactly. So it's not like they did that to like this. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If your point of contention is that it wasn't specifically directed towards Ukrainians as an ethnic group, I agree. Right.
Exactly. So that's not a genocide then. Yeah.
I mean, I don't. What word do you want to use then? That is exactly the same as genocide, but like isn't targeting an ethnic group, it's targeting a class of farmers that happen to be separate, that also happen to be ethnically different than slightly ethnically different than I mean, the thing about Russia in terms of ethnicities and its inability to commit genocide is that Russia forcibly
to begin with, Stalin was Georgian. Stalin was Georgian. He wasn't even Russian. He was Georgian.
Yeah, but Stalin moved people all of the time, intentionally splitting up ethnic groups so that there wouldn't be like an ethnically homogenous like sections of Russia.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm trying to say. Though Stalin was a bad guy, but he's not even Russian.
You know?
Yeah. Stalin was a bad guy, and he was a fucked up person, but he wasn't even Russian, and he killed a lot of people. I actually, I'll send you some pictures. I actually was in a burial where they found a lot of 5,000 of Stalin victims, and these were Russians.
Hold on, pause. Mass graves didn't exist, and if you say that they existed in Russia, you're actually a pedophile apologist, because the only guy that ever found them is clearly a pedo.
All right, whatever, man. Anyway, no, I didn't find them in Russia actually, but I found them in Transnistria. I know, but I found them in Transnistria, where I was at, and we did a big burial. The priest came, and they reburied the bones after a prayer with Orthodox prayer.
Sorry, I was looking for his name. Sergei Koltrin. Sergei Koltyrin. That's the guy that his life work was discovering mass graves, and then they accused him of pedophilia and trumped up bullshit.
Yeah, anyway, but what I'm trying to say though, that Russia and Ukraine, they were birthed from the same country. Kiev was the birthplace of both Russia and Ukraine. They both emerged from the same principality, the Kievan Rus, and they both
Okay, yeah, I'm just saying that the Ukrainians have felt the evils of Russia before as a group.
So have the Russians, though. So have the Russians. But I'm just saying, though, that the stuff you're talking about.
The Holodomor more deeply affected the Ukrainians than it did mainland Russia.
Stalin affected a lot of people, man.
Ukraine was the bread basket that was feeding much of Russia, right?
Yeah.
So when the Holodomor popped off, it was it was the people living in that region that are experiencing that. I'm just saying that, when we talk about their kind of disconnect with Russia, right? It's obviously fucking understandable. And that's one of them. And I can't hand wave the Holodomor and be like, okay, it wasn't a genocide because ethnically they're similar. It's
but that's the history. But that's the history of Europe, though. For example, the English and the Scottish people, yeah. Well, you see Braveheart, yeah.
And the Scots still fucking hate the English, right?
No, they don't. Come on, man. They're still one country. They had the vote. They had the opportunity to vote to separate from the English, and they voted to remain. They voted to remain part of the UK.
Yeah, but because of fucking Brexit, they very well may fucking splinter off at some point.
Yeah, well, look, that's good for them, but they voted though. I mean, these people. I mean, I've talked to a lot of Scottish people. I mean, they're not out there hating on English. So is the Welsh. But you're seeing Braveheart. The guy's name, Longshanks, was named Hammer of the Scots. That's what they put on his fucking grave. Hammer of the fucking Scots. This is the history of Europe. Of brutalization, of tribal warfare. So I'm just saying, it's not.
That's an important point. I think we might be beleaguering. I can't remember the right way to say it. Regardless, I think belaboring, that's what it is. It's not beleaguered. I don't know why I was going there. Belaboring the point. Sure. You know what I mean? The rewriting of history is kind of always a thing that happens when war propaganda starts, because you need a strong nationalist identity to combat fatigue of war, right? When a country needs its people to feel like it's us versus them, and to feel like they're evil and we're good, and because otherwise you can't push this idea of fighting to the last Ukrainian, because what is the last Ukrainian is a bit murky, because the differences between the Ukrainians and the Russians isn't as finite as, let's say, the difference between the British and the French, right? Like there is a distinct history between the British and French. There's a different language. There is, like they might be skin tone very similar, but they are different with wildly different histories and having been separate for a long time. And like when I talk to people, and it's like every time I've ever met anybody that's like, oh, I have family in Ukraine, they also have family in Russia. Like I've yet to meet someone that is like, I'm Ukrainian, I have family in Ukraine. Like this is what I believe. That isn't like, yeah, I have family in Russia, I have family in Ukraine, so like I understand both sides. And then they're like staunchly one side or the other. It's like, dog, like y'all don't have an extremely long history.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These people have lived together, have produced together, reproduced together, they have the same family tree and etc. These people have fought shoulder to shoulder together, have built an empire together, went to church together, and I've actually lived with them recently, with both Ukrainians and Russians in Transnistria, and I've talked to a guy, and he considers this a civil war. He doesn't consider this as a colonial war, and moreover, I want to say as well, I mean, some people do consider it as the civil war between Russians and Ukrainians. And so going further, that calling the Russians are evil, I've hanged out with them, and I'm sure everybody's capable of evil things, but I found them because coming from America, we always looked at them as, in movies as evil, the evil Russian, they're gangsters, they do this and that and that.
I can't buy the Civil War argument because Ukraine was not under the jurisdiction of the Russian Empire prior to 1970, right? Like it's not like this was under Russia, under King Peter, right? And then
yes, it was.
It was for a period of time. Well, which Peter? It depends on which Peter we're talking about. There's a lot of.
Under Peter the Great, under Peter the Great, I think it was since very long time. I don't know, because even all the cities, Odessa and Crimea, were founded by Russians. They were taken away from the Turks.
Crimea and Odessa, sure. But Western Russia, Western Ukraine was it the Turks or the Ottomans?
Polish, I think it was the Polish-Lithuanian and also Turks. Yeah, Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm trying to think of multiple historical maps in my mind. Stretch it. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like there are definitely people there. It's not quite the same as, let's say, it's not quite the same as, let's say, Japan, for example, right? Like you wouldn't, like if Japan, if China conquered, communist China conquered Japan and then held that region for 80 years. Right. And then after that 80 years, the Chinese empire falls apart. And then 91. So, 32 years later, Japan and China end up in a war. You wouldn't really call it a civil war, right? You would recognize that Japan is distinct from Japan. And you could say the same thing about maybe even, let's say, the Korean Peninsula, because the Korean Peninsula has been owned by both Japan and China throughout world history multiple times.
Yeah, I might give you that, but that's what some people said, though. But either way, though,
in the Donbass again, I would give you that. I would concede that if Russia went in and secured the Donbass and secured water to Crimea and then held, right? Like, even though I don't agree with the idea of an empire coming in and fighting, if they had just held, especially the water situation in Crimea, you could have an argument there that it was a civil war or that it was justified in some capacity. But the full scale invasion of Ukraine, I think, is just clearly unjustified and not not just a civil war. Like, I think if you had to pick the bad guys, you got to pick Russia in this sense.
Okay, yeah, but I just wanted to say, defend my Russian compatriots, because I lived among them for the last couple of months, and they've been very amicable towards me, and I've known a little bit about their history. They actually before this, I think in the Russian Empire time, they were considered as heroes in Eastern Europe because they took out the Turks from from north of Ukraine. I mean, at the bottom of Ukraine, and where else? Serbia. They freed Serbia and Bulgaria from the Turks, and etc. So they were considered as heroes back in this day as well. So to rewrite history and to say, oh, Russians were all evil, and like Anna was saying, the history is all evil and etc. I mean, bitch, your ancestors were pleading for Russia to come and save them on the Turks and other people.
I mean, look, there's no greater evil in the world than communism, as far as I'm concerned. But I'll set that aside. There's nothing more evil than communism, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. All right.
I obviously you're not going to agree with me.
I'm not, but yeah, go ahead though.
That's a discussion for another time, because I think it's more than, it's not just a form of governance. It's a philosophy that I think to its very core is as evil as evil. But I want to set that, but recognizing that belief, it is also, Russia has also been America's scapegoat for 100 years because it is so evil to hate a formerly or currently, depending on what part of history you're talking about, communist nation. It isn't, you know what I mean? Like, Jimmy Carter did it with Afghanistan, right? I'm losing the people. Oh, Russia's invading Afghanistan. These evil, evil people. Like we weren't to kind of deflect from the fact that like he can't get fucking hostages back from Iran after, they fucking fought for, I wouldn't say their independence. I wouldn't say they necessarily fought for independence. They just fought to install a different form of dictatorship. Right? Like we did it then. We've been doing it throughout the Cold War, right? Russia has always been a favored enemy. And I tried to bring this up, in the debate, this concept, because there's another rewriting of history that I think is occurring, which is how shock therapy was instituted in Russia. There is this belief that like Russia collapsed and then it just like stayed this evil kind of communist thing. And then Putin, the fascist, came in and took over because like it was weak and like he's this evil, bad strongman. And it's like, they're kind of right. But what they're leaving out is that when we sent in our economists to help, do shock therapy, we created a voucher system for starving people and then allowed Russian oligarchs to buy up vouchers at like incredibly cheap rates so that people could eat food. We consolidated 58% of the Russian economy into 7 people. We fucking took a country that had 2 million people in poverty and brought it within less than a decade to 60 million people in poverty. And the life expectancy during shock therapy, where they were going from communist to capitalistic, that no country is capitalist as far as I'm concerned, because I'm a real capitalist, hashtag real capitalist, which is fucking actual, not this taxation, regulation, massive fucking government involvement shit. But while they're transitioning, the average life expectancy of an adult Russian male dropped 15 years, which is worse than the Spanish flu. It's like, this is what Putin took over, right? Like Putin took over a country that was completely corrupted by Western involvement. And the crows had picked at the corpse of the USSR, and he came in to consolidate power. And yeah, he used fascism to do it. And I think what he did was wrong, but like, we have this weird fucking thing, this retelling of history on the American side too, where it's like, oh, well, Russia's just this evil empire that's always done these evil things. Russia. And it's like, dude, we have lied and involved ourselves and picked at them and antagonized them for 30 fucking years. Like this isn't just like they just did this up and did it on their own.
Yeah. Actually, I want to, going back to the 90s and how Russians were like, the shock economy, that also has happened in Ukraine, right? And I want to go, I want to analyze that a little bit with you, because I have seen that actually with Ukrainians, from what I've met, I've seen that slowly. So for number one, everybody knows that Ukrainian women were sold prostitutes all over the world, right? After the Soviet Union collapse, Ukrainian and Russian women were sold all across the world as prostitutes, and by
They
gangs.
didn't have enough men. They didn't have enough men. Like that's really the biggest thing.
Yeah, but they were sold out. They were sold off. There was a lot of poverty and etc. They were sold off to all the way up to Israel. To all the way to America, to Israel, and etc.
Bitch,
So
how
it was
did
like,
you fucking make this about Israel again? Get the fuck off of that. All right.
I'm just saying all the way. Come on, man. Anyway, but you know what I'm trying to say. But so basically the whole mentality, the whole pride was broken. There was a whole moral collapse of who they felt like as human beings, as their pride, because they were an empire, and they collapsed, and they basically lost everything. And there's a total identity crisis between Ukraine and Russia. So this is how things happened. That's what I'm saying. That's why a lot of people went to Nazism, like the Azov Brigade and etc. A lot of people saw Nazism, and I've seen it as well with the Ukrainians I've met, that they feel themselves lesser than the Western European counterpart because of the poverty, because of the all the prostitution that's going on. When they go to Western Europe, people treat them a certain way. So I almost got into a fight in Turkey with a Ukrainian guy, because he was talking about his wife, who is New Zealander, and he said her dad owns a construction company. So I asked, "Oh, so you married with money?" And it's like, "What the fuck do you mean I'm married with money, man? I make my own fucking money, man." I said, "Sharif, you're come from Ethiopia. Why the fuck do you treat me like this?" So he was so insecure that he thought I was insulting him because he's Ukrainian, and he felt. So this is this kind of stuff that led them.
Aside, there's a lot of dudes that are like that. Come on.
No, but I'm just saying, this is kind of but Ukrainians in general, I would say, Ukrainians and Russians have felt, a lot of Eastern Europeans in general, I would say so, but especially Ukrainians and Russians have felt after the empire collapse, they've felt very lesser than the Western European counterpart. And that has a negative connotation on their identity and morality. So no wonder that a lot of Ukrainians, jumped at the ship to become a part of EU. And the EU and the West saw that to fuck over Russia, So we love Ukraine, not because of of Ukraine itself and its people. We love Ukraine because it can fuck over Russia for us. That's the reason. So it's the same principle of, me fucking a girl. Yeah, no, it's the same principle of me fucking a girl because you like her, and it will hurt you of you seeing me fucking her. So that's fucking the devious stuff. It's not because, we care about that girl. No, it's because, we know you care about that girl and you had a relationship with her and you were together for a long time. So it's fucked up, I
mean, I kind of get the analogy. But I feel like we've explored the topics as much as we can.
Okay, you want to go to the questions?
We start getting into a cycle. Yeah. I just don't want to get too involved in it. I'm glad you came on though.
Yeah, no problem, man.
I appreciate it.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, I try to be nice, but I'm not. I'm not a nice person.
Okay.
But nevertheless, you have an interesting view on things. Usually when I talk to socialists and they kind of, it's really funny because socialism is deeply rooted in historical materialism, and in order to engage in historical analysis as a materialist, you have to know history.
Yeah.
And most of the socialists that I meet don't. I vehemently disagree with your politics. But nevertheless, I don't ever want that to stand in the way of having an interesting conversation. So I appreciate you coming and having one.
No problem, man.
It would be fun to eventually see that Assad debate with Dylan Burns, but the Ukrainian war has to stop being such juicy news for him to do that. Nevertheless, yeah, if anybody has any questions, a whole bunch of people left, I think, once we switched to Ukraine, which is interesting. So I don't know if there are a bunch of questions left, so we might just get out of here. But if anybody has one, hit me up now, and I'd appreciate it. Where can people find you, though? while we're waiting to see if anybody has any questions.
Okay, people can find me at what do you call it? Codename Rouge. That's my name. And YouTube, Codename Rouge.
You're gonna have to Codename Rouge. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, ROUGE.
Just type it in the private chat, and I'll
Okay.
put your link. Put your link in the private chat, and I'll make sure I put it in chat because I'm just gonna fuck it up.
Okay. Hold up.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh no, did he DC again?
No, I'm still here. Hold up.
Oh, okay. Your screen froze while you were like, and you were quiet for a minute. I was like, no. Oh no. Yeah, he did. Oh no. Yeah, we'll see Silver Ogre. Still, the thing is that we're still getting used to. I'm gonna bring Mark back. What? Don't tell me I'm stupid. The dude DC'd, and I don't. What am I just supposed to fucking sit? It's not. We're not recording for a YouTube video.
Sorry, I thought he was still there.
All right, we'll bring him on just at the very end. Hey, brother, did you get that? Is it Codename Rouge? CODENAME space ROUGE?
Yeah, I just put on what do you call it? Yeah, ROUGE. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Hold on, we got a direct.
Yeah.
Oops. Oh fuck. What is happening? I can't delete my own comment.
No.
Oh my god. All right, then we'll have to switch StreamYards after this. Oh, I can't because it's a fucking live broadcast. All right, well, if people hop in, I'm just gonna not put them in. It is what it is.
Okay.
But I appreciate you coming, brother. Yeah, if I do a panel at any point, like, keep in touch with me, because if we do like if a big event occurs in Ukraine or something on the world stage, I disagree with you deeply on a lot of stuff, but I think you have a lot of interesting ideas, and I think you can actually like back up your ideas. So if I end up throwing something together in the next couple months, or if something big happens and I want to bring on interesting people, like I'd love to like have you on if we like do some type of discussion thing, because I think you would be an interesting person to have on.
Yeah, for sure, man. And what do you call it? I'm somewhat of an anarchist too, but the leftist side though. I think you're the right side of anarchism and ANCAP.
I believe we call those not real anarchists.
We're here before you, man.
I'm not.
Just here. All right.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. No, you weren't, motherfucker. Proudhon
All right.
wrote "Property is liberty" just as much as he wrote "Property is theft." And there was Benjamin Tucker and Josiah Warren and Lysander Spooner. Those are all anarcho-individualists. Right? Just because we updated it with modern economic theory doesn't mean you were here first.
Okay, all right, got you. And how you doing, man, as well, Mark, man? And see you guys, man. Get easy. Bye.
All right, yeah.